Hello, welcome to my channel, and I am going to read chapter 1 of We Hunt the Flames by Hafsah Faizal, and that's the name of it, because, girl, we don't know how to pronounce. This came with a beautiful map. Just wanted to show it. So pretty. Look at it. It is amazing. Alright, and we're going to read chapter 1. Chapter 1. People lived because she killed. And if that meant braving the earth, where even the sun was afraid to glimpse, then so be it. On the occasional good day, Zafara bint Ice Candler mused that she was braver than the sun itself. Most days she couldn't wait until the evernight arc was behind her, and she was firmly rooted in the plains of her caliphate, Gama, snow and all. Today was one of those days. Despite the antlers rough against her hands, she stepped free of the cursed prison of the forest, pretending her sigh was due to her task being complete, rather than a product of the tightly coiled fear unwinding in her heart. The morning sun kissed her cheeks in welcome. Maraba to you, too, coward. Sunlight was always faint in the caliphate of Dementor, because the sun didn't know what to do with the snow that should be sand. Before her, the sea of white rolled out smooth and pristine, giving her a moment contentment in her solitude. Even as her toes numbed, the air crippled her nose. For in a caliphate where a woman's actions were always in danger of being turned against her, there was nothing easy about pretending to be a man. Not when she had the curves of a woman, and the voice and gait of one too. She dragged the deal carcass along, a trail of steam in her wake, the soaked snow an eerie crimson. There was promise in the air, a stillness in the earth, and in whispering trees. It's nothing. Paranora had a way of visiting when he was least desired. She was a bundle of emotions because of the impending wedding. That was all. Sadakar nickered from the rotting post, where she had tethered him, blending in with his near white coat, while she made quick worthy of tying the deer to his balanced saddle. He remained still, as sweet as the name she had given him. We had a good hunt today, she said, to the horse who hadn't helped, and swung onto his back. Sadakar didn't react, content with staring across the distance into the azar, as if an ifrit would leap out and swallow him whole. Dastard, Zafara said, with a smile on her numbing lips. Though everyone was a coward when it came to the forest, each of the 5 caliphates that made up our Wani were afraid of the oaths, for it rimmed those lands too. It was a curse they shared ever since the land had been robbed of magic. Baba had taught Zafara that the earth was in many ways simply a forest, He had taught her ways to use it to her benefit, ways to believe she could tame it, when in reality she could not. No one could. His death had proved so much. Zafara steered Sardaukar away from the forest, towards the clearing and deeper into Demenderher. But the urge was such that it always demanded one last glimpse. She paused and turned. It watched, breathed. Its skeleton trees reached with gnarled fingers, steeped in swirling shadow. Some said it devoured men like vultures on the dead. Yet Zafari returned day after day, hunt after hunt. She was aware each venture could be her last, and though she swore she didn't fear much, finding herself lost was her biggest fear of all. Still, there was a pulse deep inside her that relished those visits into the depths of darkness. She hated the art. She hated it so much. She craved it. I plenty of time to stare at the arcs every damn day, said to Sakar, a quiver to her voice. We need to get back to the wedding, or Yasmin will have our head. Not that Sakar cared. Zafara clucked her tongue and urged him forward, the tension escaping his taut muscles as the distance between them and the arch grew, until the air heaved with another presence. The small hairs on the nape of her neck lifted, and she threw a wary glance over her shoulder. The arc stared back, as if bated breath. No, whoever it was stood here in Demenderher, intimidating the silence almost as well as she did. Almost. If there was one thing she feared more than losing herself within the ark, it was being caught unaware by a man who could prove she was no hunter, but a huntress, a girl of 17 concealed beneath the weight of her father's hooded cloak every time she hunted. Then she would be stunned, her victories derided, her identity viciously unraveled. The thought closed hands around her heart, the thud racing a little bit faster. She sped the car to face the arch, kicking against the strains of his hesitation, as a low command drifted on the wind. Words undecryptable. Y'all, she urged him to hurry, voice tight. She shook his mane and cantered forward without protest. The air darkened as they neared the forest. Funny, Zafara was headed towards the unknown at the first sight of mortal danger. The cold bit her face. A blurred black sped from her right, a second black blur from her left. Horses! She bit her lip and swerved the car between them, ducking when something swung at her head. Whiffed! Someone yelled. But what kind of idiot would stop? The car. He froze at the border of the arch, and Zafara jerked in her saddle, a slap reminding her that he had never ventured this close. Wood and sour decay assaulted her cold senses. La, la! Now you dastard! She hissed. The car threw his head but didn't bulge. Zafara stared into the hushed darkness, and her breath faltered. The arx wasn't a place to turn one's back to. It wasn't a place to be caught unaware and unsuspecting, and with a curse, she veered the car around. Despite his protest, the wind howled cold and harsh. She was painfully aware of the arts breathing down her back until she took in two horses snorting and mere 4 paces away, coats dark as the night sky, powerful bodies cloaked in chain mail, war horses. Bred in one place alone, the neighboring caliphate of Saracen, or possibly Sultan's Keep. It's hard to tell which. When Ariwanya's Sultan had recently murdered Saracen's Caliph in cold blood, unlawfully seizing control of land and armies the Sultan had no need for. Not when Arwen rested under his control, and not when he had Sultan's guard at his beck and call. The Caliphs existed for balance. He wasn't supposed to kill them. Atop the horses, the men's bare arms were corded with muscle, faces cut with harsh lines. They were the color of people who knew life beneath the sun, the ebb and flow of the desert that Zafara longed for. "Yalla, hunter," the larger man said, as if she were cattle to be herded, and her eyes fell to the scimitar in his grasp. If Zafara had any doubts on where they were from, the timbre of his voice was enough. Her throat closed in on itself. Being tracked by gossiping Demenahue was one thing. Being attacked by Saracen was another. She lowered her head so that her hood obscured more of her face. She braved the darkness. She slew rabbits and deer. She had never stood before a blade. But for all their might, the men held their distance. Even they were afraid of the arts. Zafara lifted her chin. "Whatever for?" she drawled over the sudden hiss of the wind. She had people to feed and a bride as beautiful as the moon to say goodbye to. "Why me?" "To meet the Sultan," the smaller man said. "The Sultan? Guys!" The man had shorn more fingers from hands than hair from his head. People said he had been good once, but Zafara found that hard to believe. He was Saracen by birth, and Saracens, she had been told all her life, were born without a shred of good in their hearts. Panic flared in her chest again, but she lowered her voice. "If the Sultan wanted to see me, he would respect me with a letter, not his hounds. I'm no criminal." The small man opened his mouth upon being likened to a dog, but the other shifted his blade and drew closer. "This isn't a request," he paused, as if he realized his fear of the arcs wouldn't allow him to move any further. And then, Yalla, come forward." No, there had to be a way out. Zafara pursed her lips in realization. If there was one thing other than the barbarism Saracens were known for, it was pride.
Mommy, look. He's like bugs, trees, and more bugs.
Yeah. She whispered sweet nothings to Sorcerers. Maybe it was the men, or maybe it was the war horses, mighty and intimidated, for the local horse took a step back. It was the closest he had ever gone to the Azar, and Zafara was going to torture him with much more. She gave the men a crooked smile, her lips cracked and likely colorless from the cold. Come and touch me. You have nowhere to go. You forget, Saracen. The Arx is my second home. She stroked Sarakar's mane, steeled her heart, and steered him into the dark, swallowed her whole. She tried, tried not to acknowledge the way it welcomed her. Elate, elated whispers brushed in her ears, a surge of her blood in her bloodstream, hunger in her veins. Dark trees stood eerie and unyielding, leaves sharp and glistening. Distinctively she heard the gallop of hooves as the Saracen shouted and followed. Vines crushed beneath uh, Sudakar's hooves, and the Pharaoh's sight fell to near blindness. Except for his panicked breath, the car was mercifully quiet as Zafara listened for the men. Her own heart an echoing thud. Despite their fear, they had followed, for pride was a dangerous thing. Yet only silence drummed at her ears, like the moment after a blade's unsheathing, the halt after the first howl of wind. They were gone. For once she appreciated the fearsome, incalculable strangeness of the Azar that made the men disappear. The two Saracens could be leagues away, and neither she nor they would ever know it. Such was the Arx. This was why so many people who entered never returned. They couldn't find their way back. A soft hiss sounded from the east, and she and Sakar froze. She could see little of his white coat, but years of returning again and again had shaped her better hearing than any blade. She saw with her eyes, with her ears in the arcs. Footsteps echoed, and the temperature catering downward. Time to go home, Zafara murmured, and Sarah shivered as he edged forward, guided by her hand, by that rushing whisper in her heart, sated only when she moved. The darkness ebbed away to a soft blue sky and the distant throb of the sun. At once she felt a yawning emptiness as the cold struck her nostrils, scented with a metal and a hint of amber. The Saracens, it seemed, hadn't been so lucky. How long ago had the three of them ridden into the Ark? It couldn't have been more than 20 minutes, but the position of the sun claimed it had been at least an hour. Zafara didn't want to know whether the Sultan had really sent for her, or, if so, why. It was the why that caused Sadakar to snort beneath her, ever aware, one thing at a time, he seemed to say. Where the war horses had stood, the snow was now smooth, and she yanked on Satar's rein. A woman stood against the plains of white, a heavy gray cloak of gray, no shimmering silver sat on her slender shoulders above a sweeping red gown. Her raised hood barely covered the top of her stark hair, as white as the snow. Her lips were crimson, a curve of blood. Zafara sworn the woman hadn't been there a moment ago. A gallop began in her chest. The Zara deprived an idle mind. Who knew you could kill so swiftly, the woman said in a voice of silk. Did Darzar conjure voices to the illusions too? I am no assassin. I only evaded them, Zafara said, realizing a beat later that she shouldn't respond to an illusion. She hadn't killed those men, had she? Clever, the woman smiled after a pause. You truly do emerge sane in one piece. The guest billowed her cloak. Her dark eyes drifted across the first line of the arched trees with an odd mix of awe and Sky's adoration. The woman wavered and solidified, real and not. It's a lot like Shar, isn't it? Then she shook her head, every movement deliberate. Fear shimmered beneath Zafara's skin at the mention of Shar. Oh, how could I ask such a, a tease of a question? She continued. You haven't been to the island yet. Are you real? Zafara wanted to ask. She demanded and said, Who are you? The woman fixed her with that glittering gaze, bare hands clasped. Does she not feel the sting of the cold? Zafara's tightened her fingers around Sodakar's reins. Tell me, why do you hunt? For my people, to feed them, Zafara said. Her back ached and the deer was beginning to smell. The woman clucked her tongue from a slight frown, and Sodakar trembled. No one can be that pure. Zafara must have blinked, for the woman was suddenly closer. Another blink, despite her best efforts, and the woman had moved away again. Did you hear the roar of a lion? Do you heed its call? Where did this loon crawl from? The tavern is in the south if you're looking for more Iraq. But Zafara's usual candor was hindered by the tightening in her throat. The woman laughed. A tickling that stilled the air. Then Zafara's vision wavered, and the snow was suddenly clo- closed, closed in shadow. Black bled into the white, tendrils reaching for Zafara's ankle. Dear Huntress, a woman like me has no need to drink. Huntress. The rein slipped from Zafara's hand. How? The words died on her tongue. A smile twisted the woman's lips, and with it Zafara's heart. It was the type of smile she meant she knew, Zafara's secret. The type of smile that meant no one was safe. You will always find your way, Zafara bent asked. Um, is candor, the woman said. She sounded almost sad, though the glint in her eyes was anything but. Lost you should have remained, cursed child. The silver of her cloak flashed when she turned, and then Zafara must have blinked again, because the woman had vanished. Zafara's heart clamored to her throat, her name, that smile. There was no sign of the bleeding black or the silver cloak now. The snow was pristine as the claws in her brain, and her brain loosened. Then Sadakar was off, before she could regain her hold on his rein. She fumbled with a shout, sitting tall to keep from tumbling to the snow. He continued on a mad dash until they crested the slope and stumbled to a stop. Zafara jerked back, cursing until Sara ducked his head with a dignified snort. Breathe. Assess. She looked back at the ever-night forest once more, but the woman was nowhere to be seen. It was almost as if Zafara had imagined the entire encounter. Perhaps she had. Zafara knew the arts better than most, which was to say she understood that no one could ever know its secrets. To trust in its wickedness was to court a tortured death. Do you hear the roar of a lion? Of the lion? It wasn't a roar Zafara heard. Something else beckoned from the darkness, enticing her. Growing with her every visit, it was as if a thread of her heart had snagged in the forest and was trying to reel her back in. She drew in a sharp breath. Exhaustion had conquered the woman. That was all. And now she was late. She veered the car around with a huff. She had a dress to don and a wedding. And that is chapter 1 of We Hunt the We Hunt the Flame. Did I say dawn? No, it's flame. We Hunt the Flame, and I am super excited. The writing seems really good and on par, and obviously this is a fantasy. I'm super excited.
Mommy, can I have a cupcake?
Not yet.
Why?
Not yet. I'm doing a video right now, okay? So please subscribe down below.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not the end yet, okay?
It is the end.
No. I don't want it to be the end yet.
Okay, say hi.
I have a little toy.
Alright, go, hurry up. Hurry up. Alright. Show them.
Oh, here.
Yeah. So, please subscribe down below.
No. I can handle this.
Okay.
Please subscribe down below. And what's the rest? Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Comment down below.
Comment down below.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.